What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Effing Podcast. Today, we are breaking down some news that's broke the last week since we talked to you guys. We're talking about Alpine and them cleaning house with just about everyone that possibly works there. We're recapping the race from last week before the summer break, Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix. We're talking Max Verstappen continued dominance. We're talking McLaren, a little disappointment there. And then stay tuned to hear our Ferrari of the weeks and our shake and bakes. Don't go anywhere. Let's do this.
Let's hop into news since last episode. I have a couple things. Do you want to lead off? You want me to lead off?
Well, I've got one.
Okay, hit me with one.
Yeah, I'll hit you. We were actually at Wolski's last Friday. We were in the bathroom. I was in one urinal. You were in the other one. And we had our eyes strictly on our own urinals. But I go, Bo, have you seen this news yet? Alpine just cleaned house this last weekend. Otmar Staffnauer, the principal, Pat Fry, technical director, Alan Permain, sporting director, all gone from the team, all essentially just axed mid-race weekend in Spa this last weekend. And a week earlier, their CEO, Laurent Rossi, was also dismissed by management. So we've got a team here that has taken their CEO and then the entire first layer down and said, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya.
Insane. I don't know what to make of it yet because there hasn't been. So yeah, the news broke for us in a bar bathroom. I haven't.
You didn't wash your hands either.
I always wash my hands. This guy. I haven't seen much about it yet, like why it actually happened and what other than presumably underperformance, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested to see kind of where this goes from here. I think everyone's going to be. It was a funny like kickoff to silly season. Like it was right before the race weekend, right? So like going into the weekend, we already knew that this was happening. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, honestly. I wish I had like some profound insight on this. I really don't. It was more just surprising timing. And then also the fact that it was like cleaning the entire house. It wasn't just one firing. It was like everybody.
Yeah, to me, it was kind of shocking. I feel like they brought in Otmar. He's been there ever since Cyril left that team. He's the new principal. Actually, no, he's been in F1 when Cyril existed as well, too. But he had a great quote after this. And he says, I always say, you can't get 9 women pregnant and hope to have a baby in a month. And that was his response to being axed from this team, where I think his whole thing is like, Alpine had expectations that the team would be performing with the likes of Aston Martin, the likes of Mercedes this season. That has not happened. They've had 2 abysmal races before Spa where both DNF'd. And I think this was Alpine just saying, like, you're not getting it done for us. It's a little frustrating to me because things don't happen like that overnight. It takes seasons and seasons of putting people in place. And that to me is what he means by you can't get 9 women pregnant and have a baby in a month. I don't know. I've heard stories. I've been known to do that, but that's okay. I would say, though, that Otmar, we're going to see him again in F1. I really believe that when the new Andretti team enters into F1 in a couple of years here, I think he's going to be the principal for that. There's already rumors that Mattia is going to be the new team principal, Mattia Binotto, who was a former principal for Ferrari, that he's going to be stepping in as a new Alpine race director and team principal. So I think Mattia is going to be back here on the grid.
That was a rumor I was hearing, that Mattia maybe is going to fill that spot, which would be pretty awesome.
I would love to see him back in F1, man.
Yeah, I was surprised when he got canned at Ferrari. I mean, granted, we still have a Ferrari of the week category, but you know, I don't know. That was also a surprising move. And this one, what was weird about this one is not just the fact, I mean, yes, the fact that they cleared house, which is very strange, but the timing of it is so odd.
Timing's weird.
Like it almost suggests that something happened, that like some event of some kind that we're just not aware of, because why not just wait till summer break?
Yeah.
Like what's the point of doing it prior to race weekend?
I agree. I think it's odd.
I saw another quote. I was trying to pull this up from, I think I'm pronouncing this correctly, Alain Prost, who called out Rossi, saying, an impeccable leader who thinks he can overcome his incompetence through arrogance and a lack of humanity.
Interesting.
So similar idea that apparently he has this idea that you can just clear house, replace everybody.
And things are going to be different.
Yeah, and better initially. I mean, in general, I think everybody's replaceable, but not... I like his quote. You can't get 9 women pregnant and expect a baby in a month.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way of summing it up. I have 2 quick news stories to touch on. The first one, and this is kind of tailing off of last episode, history was made this weekend in F3 with Sophia Flourish delivering her first points. So she was the first points for a female in the F3 series.
Nice.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
so,
fuck yeah.
With Drivers Academy coming up and stuff we were talking about last week, we're probably going to see more and more women representation, female representation in Formula Racing.
Yeah.
The other was, did you see this TikTok going viral? And it was actually posted by the F1 official page of the like hot Ferrari pit guy.
No.
Okay.
No.
So this TikTok went viral of
kind of a zesty comment, Bo.
I mean, this guy's a smoke, man. There was a TikTok going viral. We can maybe try to drop it in or at least link to it in the description of the show. This Ferrari pit guy, and it was just like a compilation of him doing Ferrari pit guy
wall
stuff.
things. Good for him.
And just the dude's just a man rocket.
Just a pit guy thirst trap, basically.
Yeah, this dude's just a
Girls
man
love
rocket,
it.
and now he's like the Ferrari guy. And then I did see a Mercedes page try to like pump up one of their guys.
Uh-huh.
No, dude.
No.
You're behind Ferrari.
Something about the red just gets everyone going.
Listen, Mercedes, I got respect for you or whatever, but don't try to step on Ferrari guys' shoes.
I will say there's one Red Bull mechanic who always seems to be on the TV every weekend. He's got the dreadlocks, long hair, and he is literally every race. He has like a standalone video of them just slowly scrolling into him. You know who I'm talking about?
I don't, but I'm trying to. I don't know who that guy is, but I'll keep an eye out for him going forward.
The camera guys love him. Now they got a new guy.
Our Ferrari boy right here.
Oh,
he's also the same guy who has the Cars tattoo. What's the mechanic's name?
McQueen?
In Cars? No, the mechanic in
Mater?
Cars who the
little guy.
The little
Jake, look this up, please.
Italian guy.
Yeah, what's the guy's name in the Cars movie?
Who shows up the NASCAR
He does like the
pit
full
stops.
team. Yeah, he does the pit stop on his own. What's that character's name?
Oh, is it Luigi?
Yeah, Luigi.
That sounds right.
Yeah, he has a tattoo
Fuck yeah.
of that character on his arm. So he was already like somewhat known for that, and then the internet decided that he's hot Ferrari guy.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that it came from the official F1 page.
Yeah, that's what they're posting out.
That's a massive flex for that guy.
Two things that I want to say. There are some rumors right now that the cost cap has been breached by 3 teams: Red Bull, Aston Martin, and Mercedes. And if you guys remember last year, Red Bull breached their cost cap, and they alleged it was because of catering expenses. So we're already getting rumblings that cost cap has already been breached. We'll see what hammer gets dropped for that. I don't know if you saw this interview. Nico Rosberg, someone was doing a virtual interview with him, and this woman called him Brittany. Which back when he used to race with Lewis Hamilton, that was his nickname because he's got the long blonde flowing hair. So they would call him Britney Spears.
I didn't see this.
He got so bent out of shape by this random woman calling him Brittany. He literally made her go, apologize, say you're sorry, say you're sorry. She had to apologize, and then he said thank you, threw his headset off, and walked away.
Dude, I never understand this. Rich, famous people who have such fragile egos has never I don't understand it at all. Dude, who cares?
Who gives a shit, man?
Literally, who cares?
Yeah.
You are a multimillionaire. You are one of
You're a world champion.
Yeah, you're one of the winningest drivers in F1 history. Dude, who cares?
Who gives a shit?
Let
if
them
someone
call you
calls
whatever
you
they
Brittany,
want.
Brittany, Christina, Avril,
Dude, and maybe this is just you and I being losers, but if I do one cool thing and then somebody says something about it, I'm like, yeah, but I did that cool thing.
Yeah, but you remember 20 years ago that one thing I did?
Yeah, earlier today.
I used to throw a football over those mountains.
Right, exactly. But earlier today we're doing the stupid ping pong ball thing, and dude, we hit 5 that one time.
Yeah.
So Jake can call me whatever he wants, and I'm on top of the world today. Dude.
I won
so
state in high school football.
I didn't.
But
so
it's okay.
Yeah. My point is though, these people with these fragile egos just crack me up, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, is part of the reason they're great because they have such fragile egos that they'll do anything
to protect
it?
I think you have to have an ego. Anyone that's successful, I think part of the reason they get there is they have to have some self-confidence to know that they're good enough to be there. Ego might not be the right word. I think ego is the extreme of having too much self-confidence in yourself. But look at Kanye West. One of the most confident, arrogant, egotistical people in the world. And he's probably also one of the most successful rappers, fashion icon, fashion mogul. He's an absolutely deranged human being.
Is it real confidence though? Because that's my question. If you get rattled so easily, are you actually that confident? So I've heard people talk about this before, just with confident people in general. And basically I'm trying to think of the exact psychological framework that I heard this in, but basically it was saying that people who are extreme narcissists, there's like two types. There's the person who is the extreme narcissist but knows deep down that they're not as good as they like think they are. So that person, it can be reasoned with, and like if you shame that person publicly, they'll defend themselves, but they know deep down.
Mm-hmm.
But the person who truly believes it and then you break them, that's like the most dangerous person in the world.
Yeah.
Because they truly believe it. Whereas,
well, I think a situation like Kanye West, I think he truly believes. I think he truly believes he's Jesus. Like I have no doubt he does. Nico Rosberg, I think, is like a little snowflake that you say Britney and he's actually going to publicly freak out on the air.
Yeah, because he knows that he's like,
so
he's type 1, and you think Kanye's like the second type. He's like dangerous type.
I think Nico's a little upset because he was one of the best drivers of the decade that he was in, won a world championship, but he's always going to be overshadowed by Lewis Hamilton no matter what.
Yeah.
Because they were on the same team. Lewis ended up winning 7 championships.
Well, and they had beef with each other too.
They did
that
not
wasn't
get along.
like a friendship.
No.
So, although I'm sure that now it's whatever, but yeah, that was like a contentious relationship, especially early on. So, okay, yeah, that's interesting. I guess those are the two ends of the narcissist spectrum.
Yeah.
Should we just start we should just have bigger egos. Should we just start calling out other podcasts?
Which side do you want on the narcissist? Because I'll take either.
Yeah, I don't want to actually believe it. I want to.
I'll take Kanye.
Okay, so Jake's the Kanye, and then we will collectively be
the ones that deep down know we're not.
We actually just hate ourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all right.
But we should just start calling out other podcasts.
I do hate myself. So.
Well, that's fine. Yeah. Welcome to the club.
No, we're joking. All right.
All right.
Bo, should we move on to Spa?
Yeah, let's talk about the extra race. Let's get into it.
Last race here before the summer break. Some big expectations going into this one. We had a sprint race this weekend as well. Bo, what did you think about the race? Yeah, like
I'm over the sprint races, man. I just don't care.
This didn't seem like a good track for a sprint race either. I think it was 11 laps. The rain delay was longer than the actual sprint race was. And I love Spa. I think it's a phenomenal track. But yeah, I don't think it should be a sprint race. If you're going to have a sprint race, it should be a track like Brazil where it's short, it's quick. Silverstone is a good one too. But when you have a circuit that's 7 miles long, like Spa is, and you're only doing 11 laps, I just don't think. And also with the weather conditions of Spa. And also, again, like, I don't know if you saw this, Oscar Piastri finished 3rd in the sprint race. His post-race interview was so funny. We've talked about this where it's like, what the fuck even is a sprint race, you know? They're doing like the post-race interviews with him. His quote was something to the effect of, yeah, it feels good to be up here for a podium for, I don't know what you would even call this, if it's a race or a sprint race. But yeah, like it feels cool to be up here.
Yeah.
Like the drivers don't even care.
They don't care.
They don't
care.
That's
the thing. It's again, like, and I'm sure people are just sick of me talking about this, and I'm sorry, at some point I'll stop talking about it, but more is not always more. And this is just F1 saying more racing is more racing, therefore it's better. It's not. I love the F1 schedule on a normal weekend where I get up in the morning, in our time at least, and I have coffee and I watch qualifying on Saturday, and then I get up in the morning and I have coffee for most races at least and watch the race on Sunday. It is the greatest because there is nothing else going on at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern, or I don't know what. Just California have time? I don't know.
Yeah, California time.
But they don't keep time.
Cali time.
Bruh. But that is like the part of the beauty of the sport for me. And adding an extra day, qualifying Friday, sprint qualifying Saturday and Sunday, it just doesn't do it. And the drivers don't care.
They don't care.
You can tell.
They care because they get points. But Piastri, his first podium, and I do air quotations with podium.
It should have
it's
an
not a real
asterisk next to
podium.
it,
But it's like, what is it? The drivers care because there's points for it, but no one's pumped up to win. It almost kind of like if your first win in F1 is a sprint race, it kind of like
it doesn't
diminishes the effect of everything.
Well, and okay, I'll steel man the argument for the sprint race, I guess. If this was a season where points were very close for the constructors, then maybe it would matter because now you would have like a Max and a Lewis or a Max and a Leclerc or somebody like every point matters. Then maybe you could make a case for it. But and I understand that they can't obviously know the results ahead of time. So they can't dictate the season based off the results. I get that. I'm just saying, like, the way things are right now, why have them for the rest of the year? Yeah. Honestly, like, what's the point? I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. The actual race itself, let's dive into it. Real quick qualifying, Leclerc on pole, Checo starting second and Hamilton starting third. I thought qualifying was relatively exciting. I mean, there wasn't anything that really jumped out at me. Did you have anything specific?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like Verstappen, he qualified first. He had the fastest lap. He had to take a 5-place grid penalty because of a change of gearbox, I think he did.
Yeah.
So like, again, another max dominance. Checo, great to see him actually getting a good Q3 together. Danny Rick, unfortunately, track limits. He, I think, qualified 16th or 17th because
he missed
track limits
Q2 because of track limits. But he actually was all the way up in like P5, I think, from that lap. It was a pretty solid lap.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. And his race was kind of busted because of that qualifying position. But, dude, I mean, like, if we just kind of talk about the race itself, not the most exciting race. Probably like the least exciting race that we've watched since we've started doing this podcast, which is kind of also what you get with F1. You got a lot of really good races that you're hopeful to get. A couple races like this where, you know, it wasn't just a gripping edge of your seat. A couple things that let's kind of talk about like how we thought everything shaked out and teams and drivers and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, well, really quick, the most exciting moment of this race was once again just first lap lights out.
Yeah.
And it's Piastri taking out Sainz effectively. It wasn't immediate, but ultimately causing damage that led to both of them DNFing.
Yeah, what do you think about that incident?
I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought it was just a racing incident, honestly.
Same.
I think, it was one of those things where there weren't a lot of other storylines going on, so it got made into a bigger deal than it should have been.
Yeah.
And it was also two drivers that were expected to finish higher in the points at least, right? So I think if it wasn't for that, it would have been like a if it was Zhou Guan Yu and our boy Sargent, I don't think it would have gotten nearly as much press.
Yeah, and it was also like the only incident of the race, like you mentioned. I think like they were 3 wide in that first turn, the right-hander. There's not long of a straight right there, so you really don't have much room to separate yourself from the other cars going into that right-hander. And Sainz, I mean, it looked like to me Piastri had a gap on the inside, and then out of nowhere, Sainz was basically braking. He locked up, and I think looked a little out of control in that corner. Ended up colliding with Piastri. Piastri DNF'd right away. Sainz tried to ride it out for about 2 laps. They ended up retiring his car as well. Sainz came out later and said that really showed the inexperience of Piastri to try to make that move right there or just try to ride along the inside of him. To me, though, like I think Piastri was the one that was in the right making that decision. It looked like Sainz was the one that really was out of control going into that turn. And I think it makes Sainz kind of look bad to me for him to say that Piastri, that shows his inability and inexperience when Sainz, like, if you're the senior driver, shouldn't you know going into this that like it's a crazy corner, it's tight right
you're
there,
running
like
3 wide,
and you just like kind of turned into his line right there. Like I don't know, it's a racing incident,
yeah,
you know, it truly is. But
I think it was just a racing incident. It's one of those things where neither one wants to take ownership. No. Although I didn't see Piastri not take ownership.
I don't think he like really came out with anything.
Yeah, I didn't hear much from his side other than like it was a thing that happened and it's unfortunate and I don't know. Yeah, again, like a bigger deal was made out of it than it would have been in most weeks, and so it was kind of whatever. Max being Max, he starts 6th. It literally doesn't matter, and pulls away, wins by 22 seconds. What
Max?
Okay, but here's what's crazy though.
How can Max be so good? Like, what about Max makes him so much better, uncomparably better than anyone else?
Yeah, so that's the question, right? Is he actually that much better than everyone else, or is it a product of the car? It's a little bit of both. I mean, the guy's obviously a freak driver. What I would say is, without being like an F1 caliber driver myself yet, that guy lives, eats, breathes, and sleeps driving. I mean, like, even if you just follow him on social media,
that's all he does.
Yeah, the only things I see now that are not directly related to driving are he's now doing like commercials with people. But besides that, he obviously races F1. He races sim professionally. A lot of these guys are like showing pictures going off on trips on the weekends and stuff. You don't see that out of him really. And I honestly think he's just kind of a strange guy, but he's just a savant for racing.
I think so too. I think he's like probably the most skilled driver on the grid. And I think the best way to compare it is like look at the teammate, Checo Perez, who's been struggling. I think he's got like a little bit of a psyche going on. Like he's not worried,
Well, he's definitely not worried about his seat.
He's not worried about his seat. Let's make that very clear.
Okay, but here's
hold on. What I'm saying with this though is like that's the easiest way to compare it. Compare to the teammate. How are they doing? But if we look at also, like Max is crushing it. Like remove Checo, Red Bull's still going to win the constructor. I think Logan Sargent now has no way to actually even
Yeah,
win.
unfortunately, Logan is mathematically out
Eliminated,
of the Constructors'
which we could have told you
Championship.
that before the season even started.
Yeah, our boy. But no, I'm bummed to see that.
But also, I think Red Bull clearly has a number one driver. Like Max is number one, Checo's number two. That team is built around Max. That car is built around Max. The feedback that they do, any upgrades, is built around him. And so he is going to have a better time driving that car than Checo is because the car and the team are truly built around him.
So this is actually a point I was going to bring up, is essentially that same point. When they're doing research and development and making upgrades and changes, it is with Max's benefit in mind.
Yeah.
And we're led to believe that these cars are functionally the same, but there is no, they're not.
Mm-mm.
They're clearly not.
They might be the same, but if Checo has a different, slightly driving style, setups can be different. But on paper, the car should be exactly the same.
Right, but we know that they're not. Or at least, okay.
I mean, on paper,
yes.
are we we can't look at all the parts and the numbers.
No,
but
I understand, but they should be the same. But we know that they're optimized for Max.
True,
is what I'm saying.
Yep.
So yes, literally physically they might be the same, but there's so much more that goes into these cars than just the hardware.
Yeah.
Right. So it's being optimized for him, not for Perez. And so, yeah, there's really no way of answering that question exactly, unless if you were to rotate every driver to every car and see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Ultimately. But I mean, a 22-second gap when your teammate who finished P2 is also starting P2 and you are starting P6 is crazy. It just is. And it's becoming really impressive. He's one win away. I mean, it's been really impressive, but he's one win away from the all-time consecutive win streak, which now I want to see it. And I think we're going to.
I think we're going to, yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's also just it puts a big damper on the season, because I think we got spoiled when it was that Hamilton Verstappen year, came down to the last lap, last point. And now this is, I would say, common for F1 though, to have these periods of dominances. We had that with Ferrari back with Schumacher. We had that with Mercedes and Hamilton. We have that now with Max and Red Bull. This is just part of the sport. If we remove Max from the equation, it is a very interesting battle for second and on. But unfortunately, we can't just say, hey, Max, you're done. I mean, he's unreal. I don't think Red Bull's going to lose a race this season. I don't see Max not winning the rest of the races either this season. I just don't know how anyone else can even compete with Red Bull and with Max at this point. And it kind of takes away, I think, from some of the racing we see on Sunday.
Yeah, another interesting point from this one, Leclerc starting on pole, finishing P3, which is typically great.
Yeah,
Do you feel like that's satisfactory for them? I feel like that's underwhelming.
I think for Ferrari this season, they're happy with Leclerc finishing third. I think if Sainz wouldn't have crashed into Piastri and they wouldn't have had that little incident, I think Sainz probably would have been up there as well too. Because you had McLaren the last three races now that have outperformed Ferrari and have really been that number two constructor. You've got Mercedes and Ferrari that are all right there neck and neck. So I feel like at this point, between Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren, they're really battling for that third spot on that podium, with Checo and Max as being number 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. And so, in my mind, Ferrari getting a podium is a huge fucking W. With Sainz being out, every point fucking matters for these teams now. That's a huge blow to them. But I think I'd be pleased if I was Leclerc, just with the pace those Red Bulls have.
When I guess looking at the constructors' standings, Ferrari is just 5 points behind Aston Martin right now, who Aston Martin has, not completely fallen off in the sense that you have Fernando in the points at P5, Stroll in the points at P9. But, we were talking about them having many more podium finishes only a couple weeks ago. And now, I think we'll see another Aston Martin on podium. It'll be Alonso. And we'll see him on podium again at some point this year. But they are slowly slipping away that P3 spot to Ferrari. And McLaren continues to catch up. Obviously, this weekend with Piastri DNFing is unfortunate for that.
Yeah, let's talk about McLaren, because I feel like we were, on the last podcast, we were hyping up McLaren. I called Lando to win. I think you said Piastri was going to win. So, we had a lot of buzz. We made some bold predictions about McLaren. I think Piastri,
we drank the Kool-Aid a little bit.
It was orange, and we survived. Disappointing weekend for McLaren. I think in terms of what they expected, I thought this track was going to suit their car extremely well. It's a power track. I think that a lot of these cars this weekend, it was kind of a weird setup they all ran, because they were expecting rain on Sunday. So they all ran with a heavier downforce setup, expecting there to be rain. Rain didn't really show up, which kind of fucked a lot of these cars that were running a heavier down setup. It's down
Downforce
setup. Thank you. I think that was McLaren was one of them. Like Lando at one point was in 4th and then dropped down to like, I think he was driving in last at one point or like 15th and then made his way back up to finishing 6th or 7th.
7th.
So like just a weird race for McLaren, not the pace and like the form that we've been used to seeing him for the last 3 races here.
Yeah, I mean, the story's not over for them this year. I still think that they're going to be running hot after summer break, and they're going to be in contention at least for that P3 spot in the Constructors. That's really the most interesting race right now is the race for P3 in the Constructors. Mercedes, pretty good race.
Yeah.
They finished Lewis P4, Russell P6. They are now, it's funny, they're like the silent killers kind of right now in the sense that they have a pretty strong lead for P2. They're nowhere near Red Bull, obviously, for P1 in the Constructors. They have a pretty strong lead over Aston Martin in P2 for the Constructors, but also they haven't been exciting. Okay, they haven't been exciting for what you would expect from a Mercedes team if you've only been watching F1 for the last like half decade or maybe a little bit more than that, which is us and most people probably listening to this show. What made me laugh is, do you watch The Office? You a fan of The Office?
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember the episode when they're doing like the Who Done It game and Dwight's trying to figure out who it is and he's like, it's never the person you most expect, but it's also not the person you least expect. So it's the person you most medium expect. That's Mercedes right now. Mercedes is the team to like do well that I most medium expect to do well.
They've kind of been pulling together these like stints here of like very sneaky good performances, kind of flying under the radar.
That's what I mean. You know, like we're not talking about because we expect it. We expect them to do well, and so they're not doing anything shockingly exciting, but they're also performing, and so they're just like they're the Alfa Romeo of good performances.
Yeah, the good teams,
right?
Yeah, which is not a good thing to be.
No,
I don't know if it is or not. If you're a good team and you're the Alfa Romeo of the good team, maybe it's okay.
Yeah, you know how there's like the best and then the best of the rest.
Yeah,
they're like the Alfa Romeo of the best.
Yeah,
which is like. I don't know.
There's worse things.
There's worse things to be, for sure.
You could be Alpine.
You could be Alpine.
You could be Upmar.
You could be...
Who doesn't have a job.
That's true. You could be AlphaTauri, which we should talk about.
We should talk about AlphaTauri.
Yeah, so the Yuki Tsunoda, Danny Rick saga continues on. Yuki finished in the points on Sunday, which was awesome. I was very excited to see that. Danny Rick struggled a little bit, finishing P16. Yuki had a great race. Honestly, he got robbed for driver of the day.
He had a phenomenal drive, man. For them to score a point with that car, which is like me going out there with my 4Runner and trying to score a point, like Yuki was on form. He came out. He was on job. He did his thing. That was not an expected point for them, especially because I thought the Williams were going to be performing really well on this track, and neither Williams scored points. So all the predictions we actually made for this race were completely fucking wrong. I did not think Yuki was going to get on the points. So, yeah, dude, he had a great drive.
I thought Alpine was going to have a huge comeback week. You know,
decent comeback.
Yeah, I mean, Ocon did fine, but
when you have two DNFs, just finishing is a comeback.
That's true. So comeback of the week, I guess, is technically them. But yeah, I mean, Yuki had a phenomenal drive. He was running P6 for a huge chunk of the race. He looked good. He makes that car look good. We'll see what happens. I mean, Danny Rick's only been back in the seat for a short while. He's obviously going to improve as time goes on. I think this is becoming a much more interesting kind of battle between the two than a lot of people thought it was going to be. I think most people I think either thought it was going to be very contentious or Danny Rick would run away with the better performances. And so far, that's just not been the case. It's been one arguably equal performance and one performance where Yuki definitely outshined Danny Rick. Also, AlphaTauri is currently in last place for the Constructors with 3 points. All 3 of those points being scored by Tsunoda. My hot take here is that AlphaTauri will not end the season in last.
Ooh, who's next?
So Alfa Romeo with 9 points. Haas and Williams tied for P7 with 11 points. I don't think it's impossible that they catch Haas and Williams. Maybe not both of them, but I don't think AlphaTauri is going to finish in P10.
I don't know, man. I think their car. So I think they got a great driver lineup right now. And if we kind of go back to like this Yuki Daniel Ricciardo thing, everyone was so quick 2 weeks ago in Hungary to be like, yeah, Yuki sucks. Daniel Ricciardo, look how much better he is. And then everyone was on that bandwagon. And now it's kind of like, let's kind of go back to our senses a little bit. Like Yuki is a good driver. Daniel is still learning the car. Daniel had a great sprint race. I think he finished 9th or 10th. You don't get points for that in the sprint race, but he had a great sprint race. Actual Sunday, no, not so much. A lot of that was because of his fucked up qualifying. Bo, I don't see AlphaTauri, though, getting out of 10th place.
Okay,
and
here's the thing.
Here's why. They might have a better car than Haas. They might have better drivers than Haas. But right now, for a team to finish in the top 10 is so fucking hard. You've got 5 constructors that are stacked. You've got Alpine, who I think has a better car than AlphaTauri does, where even if AlphaTauri finishes above Haas, Williams, Alfa Romeo, a lot of shit has to happen for them to get consistent points to make up that gap. And even then we're talking 1 or 2 points per race.
But no, but this,
Bo,
okay, this is the part you're missing.
Man.
This is the part you're missing. Those teams are not putting up consistent points. And think about this.
Neither is AlphaTauri.
Well, I know, but think about this. Yuki ran P6 for a big chunk of that race. Now, just because you're running in the middle doesn't mean you're going to finish there. But had he finished P6, they would have 10 points currently. They would be 1 point behind Haas and Williams.
Yeah,
all it would take is one.
And had he finished P1, they would be in 4th.
Well, no. I mean, that's not true. But actually, is it true?
No,
it's not true.
I think they'd be in like 6th or 7th.
They'd be in 7th. But with a margin.
I do know what you're saying.
Okay.
I just think, though, it's going to be really hard for them to finish above 7th. Keep in mind,
he finished P10. So he was on Stroll's ass that entire last lap, and I thought he was going to make the pass. He had DRS. It looked like he was going to potentially make the pass in the last lap. He didn't. Had he done that, they would only be, 6 points behind? Like, it's not going to take much.
It's not, but also we're talking about 1 and 2 points a race.
And we have Danny Rick, though. He's only 2 races in.
Okay.
You're assuming Danny doesn't score any points.
I think he's going to score 3 points this season. 2 points, maybe. If Daniel Rick scores a point, and if Yuki scores a point, like that's the best that they can do right now is 1 point.
That's all they need. They just need a lot of. They just need to hit singles. They just need to hit a bunch of singles.
If AlphaTauri finishes above Alfa Romeo in 9th,
yeah.
If that happens, I'll do something.
Oh, you do a tattoo bet?
Should we do a tattoo bet?
Yeah, you want to do a tattoo bet?
Okay, if AlphaTauri finishes,
definitely do a tattoo bet.
And Jake gets to pick the tattoo.
Ooh.
I don't know about all that. Maybe.
All right, if AlphaTauri finishes 10th, you get a tattoo. If they finish anything else than 10th, I'll get a tattoo.
If they finish 10th, I get one. If they finish, okay.
So basically, if they beat any other constructor, I will get a tattoo.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Are we doing this?
Yeah.
All right. We'll shake on. We'll spit shake.
Did you get a picture of this?
We got it.
Yeah.
We got it.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna be watching that super close now. Now that my
I've
body's
been
on the
watching
line.
it super close. What do you mean you're going to be watching it super close? We'll come up with something good. It won't have to be a shitty tattoo.
I close wall skis.
That should be a funny tattoo.
No, we'll get something. Okay.
All right. Well,
Jake has to pay for it either way, though.
Yeah.
I'll
pay for it. I'll pay for it.
All right, fine. He's in.
Jake will pay. Cool.
Do you have anything else on the actual race? I mean, I kind of don't, honestly. Like,
I thought Aston Martin had a really good performance. I think they needed. I think Alonso outdrove that car this weekend, finishing 5th. Stroll had a very typical Stroll race, finishing 9th. That was a good performance for them. I think that was much needed. I think, though, a lot of that was because of McLaren just wasn't able to really compete with pace. I was really surprised how bad Williams performed. I was on the Williams train this weekend. I think everyone was on the Williams train this weekend, and they were just not even in contention for points at any point.
Doesn't their car look like they should be winning points all the time, though?
It's got a battery.
I know.
It's got a Duracell battery.
The blue with the Duracell battery.
Yeah.
It's like if somebody had never watched F1 before, if Jake looks at all the cars lined up against each other, he's definitely pointing at the Williams.
No,
maybe not to win.
Williams car?
Maybe not to win, but at least to be that's a good team. That team doesn't suck.
I feel like the Williams car is like a car that a kindergartner would really like. You know, it's like
I'd have a poster of this on my wall for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's very good stuff.
Do you think this hurts Duracell's brand because of how bad they're doing?
Nah. It's all just the thing with motorsports and branding. It's strange. Like, you see all of the branding, but you don't actually pay attention to it.
You know it's there.
Yeah, it's there. I noticed the
McLaren Chrome, Google Chrome is all over there.
The Valvoline logos on was it Alpine, I think, has the Valvoline right on the side. You can see it when they do the POV view. Like, yeah, you see it, but you're not. It's like all subliminal. It's like Fight Club. They're fitting in subliminal messages as you're watching the races. The only other thing I wanted to add was, and we kind of just touched on this before, but Alfa Romeo, once again, just being the most Alfa Romeo team of all time, finishing 12th and 13th, which is the perfect spot for them because it's good enough that we're not talking about it, but it's bad enough that they're not scoring points. They're just there.
Honestly, a good finish.
It's
but
no
it's
points.
A good finish. No
so
points.
It's just they're there and they're respectable, but they're just kind of there, which is just the most Alfa Romeo thing they could possibly do.
Yeah.
That's really all I had in this race. Do you want to dive into our superlatives of the week?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to start with our who you got for P1 this week?
Yeah. My P1 of the week is obviously Yuki Tsunoda. Yeah. Yuki Tsunoda should have been driver of the day. He finished in the points. He continues to have 100% of their team's points. And now he is going to be the reason that Nick gets a stupid tattoo at the end of the season.
Not fucking true. If there's a reason I get a tattoo, it'd be because of Daniel Ricciardo, not Yuki.
Okay, well, I'll take what I can get. But no, shout out Yuki. Yuki was my P1 for this week.
Yeah, I had him wrote down too. So I'll go to my P2 of the week, who now is my P1 of the week.
Right.
Alonso. I think he had a great job finishing P5. I think he outperformed what that car was capable of. With Carlos Sainz not finishing, and then with the McLarens not really performing, I think they're very happy with P5. So yeah, going with Fernando there.
Awesome. Moving on, shake and bake of the week. Do you want to go first this one? I'm first.
Yeah. I'll take this. Shake and bake. I went with Mercedes.
Okay.
Because I feel like it was a very good performance by them. They did what they needed to do this race. They performed where they needed to be. A podium would have been exceptional for them, I think. So it was a solid race for them. I mean, the easy answer would obviously be Red Bull with Max and Sergio going 1-2, and Max Max didn't lap anyone this race, which that's kind of a new thing. But yeah, I like Mercedes for the little shake and bake.
So your shake and bake should have been then Max and Hulkenberg for not getting lapped and finishing P1 and P18. I like that pick though. That's a solid pick. My shake and bake of the week is Checo and his seat. Checo and not being worried. So he's
not worried.
Qualified P2, finished P2, which is exactly where he needs to be. The most important thing he can do to not lose his seat is stay the hell out of Max's way. And qualifying P2 and finishing P2, he's not worried. So shake and bake of the week, Checo and his seat in F1.
And not being worried.
Okay, being worried.
Do you think if he started beating Max, that like there'd be more of a problem there?
Not that. I mean, they're so close to like clinching the constructors already, and Max is not that far off from clinching the championship. So probably not. But I don't think they want him to.
I don't think it would be helpful.
I don't think Horner. Yeah, I don't think Horner's like hyped about it.
It's like when you go golfing with your boss, you don't ever beat your boss in golf.
You're
not supposed to.
Well, right.
It's kind of like that.
I get what you're saying. Like, I personally don't subscribe to that. I want to just like, if you got a boss, just smoke him and everything. But,
I agree.
But if you care about your seat,
it's just the same.
If you're protecting your seat and your job security, then yeah, you should always not be your boss. Definitely. Yeah. No, but actually though, in all seriousness, I don't think Horner would be like excited about Checo beating Max at this point.
I don't think they would either.
I think they just need to continue to harness the like hot streak that they're on and turn him into the undisputed best driver of all time. Yeah. Which, by the way, I think he is going to be the best driver of all time. I mean, right now he's already in the conversation. I think in the next, I don't know, at most couple years, it's going to be not a conversation anymore, and it's just he's kind of
the best.
Jordan. You're talking about Max, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask because the GOAT of F1 right now is Lewis Hamilton, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's people who are going to argue it. It's for me, it's Lewis. Honestly Lewis.
Yeah. There are guys still racing, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, there's other people up there who people make arguments for. Vettel, Senna, Schumacher.
I feel like,
I think Schumacher gets the nod for most people, probably especially people who've been F1 fans for a really long time. But it's also similar to like the LeBron Jordan thing in the sense that the sport has changed and developed a lot since Schumacher was racing. And so if we're talking like, you can almost have like a modern era GOAT and like I don't know where that divide would be exactly, but like a not modern era GOAT. And it's definitely Schumacher, Hamilton, 1A, 1B. In that debate though, LeBron sucks and he's super whack. And it's obviously not LeBron, it's Jordan. Yeah. But I digress. Yeah. Okay, Ferrari of the week.
For my Ferrari of the week, I'm going with Haas this weekend. Just a horrible performance. I think Nico finished in last. K-Mag, not even. K-Mag finished in last.
No, Hulk was in last of the finishers.
Yeah, and then
K-Mag
K-Mag
at
15th. Like, they were just so irrelevant. They have had a really bad season. They have no expectations, and yet somehow they continue to not meet those no expectations. So yeah, I like Haas for being a Ferrari.
I have 2 Ferrari of the weeks. Can I have permission to have 2?
Yeah, Jake, we're gonna allow it.
Granted.
Okay.
Okay.
Permission. So my first Ferrari of the week is Piastri. I had him picked as winning this race going into this weekend, and he DNF'd essentially right away. Although he did take out Checo on his way, not Checo, sorry. He took out Sainz on his way there, which is beneficial for them as they chase McLaren.
Another good sabotage move.
Yeah, so I guess if you're going to pull a Ferrari, you should do it against a Ferrari when you're trying to catch Ferrari.
Yes.
So solid Ferrari of the week. My second one is Red Bull, the team, for breaking Max's trophy. Did you see this?
Wait, what?
Yes. The team broke the trophy again.
For Spa?
Yes.
Wait. Didn't Lando break one?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, they broke another trophy?
Yes.
Who? Like the team?
On
purpose?
No, they took a team photo after with the 2 trophies sitting in front of the team, and then they all like ran forward to celebrate, and one of the team members knocked the trophy down and broke it. Again.
Now, that's funny. Now like every trophy has to be broken.
Yeah.
You know, like it has to be like a little bit now.
Yeah, I just really hope they start putting the trophies in the case broken.
Yeah.
And
I hope they start making stronger trophies.
Yeah, honestly, hot seat once again, the trophy people.
Trophy maker.
Yeah, but I just thought it was funny. It was a Ferrari of the week, just, moving fast and breaking stuff.
Yeah.
And not in a good way. With that, I mean, we covered pretty much everything there is to cover with Spa this year. Again, it obviously was not the most eventful weekend we've had in F1. It's going to happen from time to time. But as things happen and as they shake out, we will continue to watch them and update everybody listening to this. We're now heading into the summer break, which means we are going to do some heavy lifting on coming up with content. And we will continue to pump out content for you. And it will be just as fantastic, if not more fantastic, than what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So you got anything else for the people?
No, I don't.
All right. Awesome. See you guys next time.
Yeah, bye guys.
We hope you enjoyed the effing podcast. Check out our socials for additional content, and we will see you out on the grid.